Welcome to the first episode of Humans Connect Monday. In today's episode, I'm joined by Damali Orozco, Senior Director of Human Resources at Procter and Gamble. We cover how to cultivate superior employee experiences, to what she's learned from going through a Workday implementation, to how vulnerability, authenticity, and courage can bridge the gap in diverse working environments. Hi, Damali. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Pega. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be today.
I'm excited to have you on. Give our listeners an introduction to yourself.
Yes, wow, gosh, I've been working in Procter and Gamble. Started out with the Gillette company straight out of university. So did my internship before my last year, and I've been in HR the entire 23 years there. Started out in a manufacturing plant and moved through a variety of assignments from projects to headquarters to being an HR partner, which I find the most fulfilling is the partnership role, really collaborating. And I've moved from shave care, of course, with Gillette through personal health to the North America region, family care, which is Bounty and Charmin. And currently I'm supporting the oral care and beauty care business.
And what is it about HR that you find fulfilling? What is it about it that makes it stick for you?
Gosh, well, there's a lot of things. Number one, it's really solving people problems in a way that supports the person, the organization, the long-term strategy of the company, right? And so being that company advocate of steward of the policy, but as well understanding that each situation is different, each person is different, and really looking at the strategy of the organization, which is for us right now, it's really providing a superior employee experience. And so that's really driving a step change in the way that we manage our employee decisions and programs.
How do you provide a superior employee experience?
Right. It's everything you can think of, right? Facilities, right? So people want to come to a beautiful location that sparks innovation, creativity, and connection. You also provide that sense of belonging, right? So from our new hires all the way to our people with 35 years, what is truly the best way to be inclusive, to drive, those day-to-day interactions that are built on respect, but also really push people to be their best. And with that comes disagreements, but at the same time, we're getting closer, right? That builds more trust. So I would say those two, as well as training. Right. So everybody wants to grow. Even if I'm a technician on the line, I want to grow. Even if I've been here 30 years, I still want to grow. I may not progress to the next level, but really providing people with development because, of course, if you don't develop, you're not going to survive. Right. We have artificial intelligence. We have so many digital fluency skills that everyone needs. So I think those three buckets, as well as obviously rewards and recognition and a couple other things I would say, but those are the highlights.
P&G is such an established company. It's such a large company. And obviously that relationship you have with employees is so important, especially in their growth, as you said. How do you ensure that in that large environment, you still maintain that close relationship with employees to allow them to develop in that way?
Yeah, it really comes to the immediate manager, right?
Yeah.
So the immediate manager is one of the most important roles in the company. For us, it's our shift leaders who are with, our technicians day in, day out. 12-hour shifts for the most part. And so that person really, we have to build their skills first.
Mm.
And then they can then pour into their employees, right? Because they're the ones who see the day-to-day, the good days, the bad days, and can help the person really truly develop on the strengths and address the opportunities.
Amazing. Now,
Mhm.
during your career, you've been involved in a Workday implementation yourself. What
Correct.
about that experience allowed you to ensure that it was a success? And maybe if you could go back, what would you do a bit differently to make it go a bit more smoothly?
Right. Yes, Workday was one of my most favorite projects. Global project for product supply, which is the largest organization about 67,000 people across the globe, majority of which are technicians, right? About 45,000 technicians. So, number one, I think one of the reasons I was successful in that role is because I had experience kind of in the plants,
Mm.
actually different countries in the plants. So 3 different continents. So that gave me, firsthand experience of really truly what is a day in the life of a manufacturing site or an employee there. And so I was able to, tap into that, number one, stay connected and in touch, and of course, renew my experience because over the course of 23 years, things change, right?
Yeah.
And so I stayed in touch with the network that I had, really, really listening to the different, issues or problems that they needed to solve, and making sure that the project team was very aware of the different environment that our technicians are in versus in person in the office. And so what would I have done differently? I think you asked. I think I would have tried to make it simpler.
Mm.
Workday it was a humongous transformation. It was actually part of what we call talent transformation. So not only were we changing the systems, but we actually changed the way we talk about talent, focusing more on skills versus, even previous performance, and a couple other, major transformations within P&G. And so there was a lot.
Mm.
And now that I'm on the receiving end of all that, kind of like, we're baking the cookie for 18 months and now I'm eating it in my role. So a little analogy we've been using, but there was a lot for the plants to absorb and train their organization, their leaders to really adopt Workday. And so if I could do anything, I would make it simpler.
How do you think that is possible? Because it is such a complicated process. What would you say is the way to go forward?
I did as much as I could in terms of making materials that were fit for use in the plant. So, employee decks, leadership decks, but looking back, that maybe we could have made it shorter, sweeter, just really get to the essence of it without tons and tons of, death by PowerPoint kind of thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's so useful
Mhm.
because there are so many companies going through that process right now. When we first spoke, it became really apparent that diversity and inclusion has been
Mhm.
integral in your professional life and also personal life.
Mhm.
How do you think diverse perspectives that you have experienced have influenced your working life?
Oh, that's a great question, a huge one. That I've experienced. Well, number one, I've been fortunate enough to work in several different countries and regions, and so that certainly informs my just development and my ability to apply, those skills that I've gained. So working in India was a really, really a treat. My mom's family's from India, and so that was the first time I was in a developing region, which I knew would be, a challenge, but I was able to be successful in the project by relationship. So at the end of the day, people are people, right? And so you really need to create relationships with each and every person. Back to that sense of belonging, I had to create it for myself, number one, to assimilate into these different cultures and really bring about the best for myself and the strengths that I had, and then connect those with what the business needs were, what the people needs, and really create the relationships. One cool thing about P&G is, there's a global recruiting process, and it really produces a very consistent set of skills and I guess personality types even, right? And so even though, it was a whole different world in India or London or Panama, I was able to really just find that connection point with other P&G employees and make myself, be a benefit to the organization.
And how do you bridge, would you say, that gap to be able, because there is cultural differences between
Hmm.
different countries, different communities. How do you
Right.
bridge that gap and create that connection, you think?
I think there's a little bit of vulnerability for yourself,
Mm.
right? So you have to be vulnerable, you have to open up, you have to be authentic, right? And
Yeah.
be brave in terms of sharing your personal background, your challenges, even, and ask for help, right? So ask for help in connecting, ask for support in learning the organization, right? Find those people who you have maybe a natural click with, and then just kind of leverage that. And so it's really the foundation of it is really the relationships, and sometimes you have to just open up and see who's going to be receptive to that.
Amazing. You've
Mhm.
had such a long career at P&G. How do you think you've sustained that longevity? Because it's hard.
Yes, it's certainly hard. Well, for me, I really adore a challenge, right? So, and I use the word adore it intentionally because, we can all be comfortable and continue to grow and develop in any role, really, because the challenges of today are nowhere near what they were 5 years ago. But I really like that uncomfortable feeling in my stomach that I get when I'm looking forward to a new role, a new location, a new organization. And culturally, just really being able to embrace that and become a contributor to it. So I think for me, the reason I've had a sustained long career is because I've been able to ask for those different challenges and receive them and do well in those.
Amazing. Conversations that I have had with women, because I know that you have been able to have an incredibly successful career and you've also chosen to embrace motherhood. That's something that I would love to experience myself one day. But one of the conversations that I tend to have with women in the process of finding a new position is that
Mhm.
they're worried sometimes
Mhm.
that if they do choose to embrace motherhood, it means that they have to sacrifice an aspect of their professional life, um,
Mhm.
which they don't have to. And
Mhm.
organizations can support them in doing that if they want to do that. So, what would you say are some of the things that organizations can do to successfully support women to embrace motherhood if they want to,
Mhm.
and also have a professional life and thrive in that as well?
Right, right. Yes, this is a great topic. I'm glad you asked. Definitely, there are quite a few things I think that organizations can do, and then I was the beneficiary of probably other women, putting those in place for myself. So certainly, the women support groups, affinity teams, resource groups that however organizations want to call those, that's incredibly critical because you can learn only so much from online or books or your own personal network, but professional network of women who've been there and done that before in your own organization, that's really gold, right? That is pure gold. Really tapping into those resources again, getting a little vulnerable, right? And putting yourself out there and asking for the help you need, and connecting with those resources is number one for me. And then, of course, the basic things like the policies and the lactation rooms, and those sort of basic things, right? That's kind of straightforward, and hopefully, most all organizations have those in place. And the last I would say is really, the customized flexibility approach. And this really goes beyond motherhood because even, these days there's a lot of dads who want to take some time off or have flexibility. The organization needs to create that, um, life at work, right? Life happens at work, and work happens in your home as well, or wherever you are in life, your life stages. So I think the flexibility and customized approach for each and every individual. It could even be elder care, right? I know a lot
Yeah.
of employees now, they've gone through their childbearing years, they have their kids are grown, but now they're taking care of their parents or elders. And so that whole environment needs to really be strong in order to support all employees throughout their life stages, and really have a customized approach. For me personally, I came back to work after my first son, with a less than full-time schedule. And I did that, just for a few months to get my feet back into the waters. The organization I was going was a new organization, so they didn't even know me, closely. And there was a little bit of hesitation to do less than full time, but I mean, it was like 80%, so it wasn't a huge shift, but they were willing to do that and take a chance and open that up because I think P&G had the policies and the support, and I was again vulnerable enough to ask for what I needed. And after a few months, I figured out the way to work, and I made it 100%. So for me, it was a good experience.
Amazing. It sounds like
Mm.
consistently have said that you know what you want and you know how to ask for it. And it's apparent that's probably one of the ways that you've become so successful as well, is that you've got that insight and clarity. You also said that it's that feeling in your stomach, that discomfort that you embrace. That's
Right.
how you grow. What are some of the ways that you have grown and your approaches, other than embracing that discomfort?
I think for me, it's, what's the long-term vision, right? So my goal has shifted over time, but the long-term vision has remained pretty consistent. It's, really having a broad set of skills, international experience, exposing my kids to that as well, whether that through be personal travel or the different roles that I've had. And I think for every individual, it's going to be different, of course, but refining and redefining that long-term vision is critical, right? So for some people, it may be, you know, it could be very different. I won't go in. I was going to start to hypothesize on that, but
You can
no use doing that.
hypothesize.
I think, every individual is going to be very different, right? I've seen people that move from company to company and get, just a lot of different skills and broaden their network. And that's great. Some people stay in a very niche area of HR and become a specialist, and we need that level of, expertise. For me, it's been really the development piece of going to different organizations within P&G, because it's almost, you mentioned different countries that have culturally diverse, experiences, and even within P&G, right? Shave care, personal health, oral care, they're all kind of unique. The industry is very different. The competition is very different. And so you get quite a different experience as you move across these different categories within P&G. So that's also been, a thrill, right? So that I can have that different growth and development.
Amazing. It sounds like you've also been supported in that sense, I suppose, because it's so established. There are so many different departments you can go into. If organizations have the opportunity to grow internally their talent, they're less likely to lose them, it seems.
Absolutely. I would
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Being a leader comes with the challenge of managing people, and the
Yes.
different personalities. I imagine it can be hard, and it can also be very rewarding. What are the best ways to maintain harmony in a corporate dynamic?
Oh, yes. Currently, right now, my role has the largest number of people I've managed, which is 12, right?
Mm.
So it's not huge. Like our product supply, the people I support have upwards of 50, 60 people with other leaders and technician leaders in the middle. But I think really there's a piece that is definitely the relationship. So back to that foundation, growing and developing each individual as an individual, of course. And then it's the creating the team, like common objectives, goals, camaraderie, all of those team effectiveness tools that we know. My team loves offsites, right? So we do 4 times a year, every quarter, we go offsite, really to our other P&G location in town, which is great, cost effective. And we step back from the day-to-day work and renew our vision, our long-term goals, create kind of the team camaraderie that we need to thrive in our everyday, and have a little bit of fun, right? I mean, you have to have fun as a team in order to really bond. And again, it's back to kind of having the vulnerable conversations about what's working and what's not working. And I'm really open to feedback. I always ask the team and always share, hey, feedback is a gift, and I would love if you would bestow that gift on me. And so they do. They really, kind of in an anonymous survey tool that we have within the company, share the feedback, of, again, what's working and what's not. And what I always share is, we won't be able to fix it if we don't know, if we're not aware, right? So awareness is the first of 12 steps. And so I think those key, tools have been effective for me. And it
Would
is a
you
great joy, to your point, managing people, seeing them grow and thrive and get promoted and develop and have really fulfilling careers is a key, reward that I look forward to.
100%?
Mhm.
Um, I suppose one final question, because I personally am currently obsessed with the concept of cause and effect, and how our actions can really influence what happens next. What is
Right.
one decision that you have made in your career that has had a defining impact?
hmm Wow. So I think I'm going to go back to asking for what I want. And so there were at least two or three things that come to my mind where there was maybe even a personal need for me, um, on the path that we were already down, and asking for that. And in my wildest dreams, I never imagined the outcome, but it was like triple fold of what I even asked for. So that really, really showed me that if you just even ask for an inch, you might receive a yard. You never know. Because on the other end, they're not even their expectations are way different than yours. And so I think, again, it's back to that vulnerability and truly knowing your long-term vision and what you want in order to be successful, and opening the door to that.
Amazing. I love
Yeah,
that. It's not easy, vulnerability. It can
it's
feel very
not.
scary.
It can be extremely scary, yeah. But at the end of the day, again, I think it builds the relationship so much deeper. Even if you don't necessarily get what you're looking for, you've
Yeah.
now grown and developed that muscle of asking. And the next ask, you never know. Again, it could be the inch that gets you the yard. And you've built that over time. So it becomes more of a habit and a skill than a first time.
And it allows you to be more authentic as well. So those
Absolutely.
relationships feel a lot more real, I
Right.
imagine. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Damali. It's been such a pleasure to have you as our first guest on the pod. I hope that we'll get you back at some point, and
Yes.
I am loving your career growth and can't wait to see it to continue to grow. So thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you, Pega. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a
Oh.
pleasure.